Let's get started. So first, I'm Maureen. I am the founder and creator of BarMD, full service bar prep company. We provide, everything you might need to prep for the bar exam in California, the UBE, and a ton of other jurisdictions. So if you need, we have pretty much anything you could need. So today I'm going to talk about, we're going to keep it fairly short because I know people probably want to get back to studying. But I wanted to give everybody just some benchmarks of like where you should be, what you should be doing over the next month, some free tools, some other stuff that we have that might help you, some links to stuff that we do provide here at BarMD. So first of all, I want to point everybody to on my website, bar-md.com, we have a bunch of free study resources that can help you. I'm going to put the link in the chat right now. This is where you can find where we have free workshops, where we have there's basically, if you're taking the UBE or if you're taking California, there's basically 4 free workshops you want to sign up for. So we have separated out the materials that we offer to make sure that you can find really what you're looking for easier. So we have a bar exam strategies free workshop course. That's where we post reviews of prior bar exams, other stuff that we've done. It's really general that applies to anybody. So we have that course. We have a free workshop for the MBE that you can sign up for. So you want to sign up for that. And then whether you're UBE or California, or whether your exam is more similar to UBE or California, we have one for the essays, and we have a free essay course for the PT. So either for California essays, UBE essays, or the MEE, and we have MPT and California performance tests. So you want to definitely look on this page. We also have free downloads of certain things that people like if you want a free sample of certain things that we offer. So just wanted to point that out. This recording will be posted in the bar exam strategies free workshop tomorrow at some point. So that's where you'll be able to find this recording. Oh, can you guys not see my, I'm not sharing my screen. You should just see the PowerPoint. So I just put the link in the chat. Actually, I can go back and I can share my screen just to show you guys. Actually, that probably makes sense. Thanks, Phyllis. So here, it's on our free study resources. So there's a ton of stuff in here. This is like where there's a link to register for this workshop. We have free sample materials of various books that we have, or quick sheets, a free grading sample. This is where all the free workshop courses are located. So if you want to, look at this, this has kind of everything. There's also links down here on Instagram. We're posting just tips. On TikTok, we're posting tips also. That's all free. There's a link to our podcast, which I'm going to talk about in a second. I also have a group on Reddit and a Facebook group. I'm kind of just getting more started, but if you guys have specific questions, I do check those pretty regularly too. You can ask substantive law questions if you can't figure something out. So it's a really good spot for you to find anything. So just wanted to let you guys know that that's where that stuff is. A ton of really good resources there. I should say, understand what study tools can help, where to focus your attention on the MBE. We're going to talk about issue spotting and some good tips for PT practice. So some good study tools. We have our BarMD podcast. I haven't recorded newer stuff lately just because I was dealing with some stuff, but I am going to get back on that very soon. But there's some really good just reviews of Black letter law on the podcast. We also have, for memorization, everybody should right now start, or at least, as of today, you should be doing some memorization every day. So, and I'm going to talk about this through each component of for the essays and for the MBE. I'm going to talk about this a bit more specifically, but a really good tool that we have is called our quick sheets. So our quick sheets it's a really good memorization tool. It's every subject distilled down into basically 4 pages or less. And I'll put a link. They're $50. You can print them out, use them to memorize from. And here's the link to that, just in case you want it. These are designed for California, but if you're taking the UBE, they're super helpful for that too. You can just ignore the California stuff, and really helpful for the MBE, obviously, because all those subjects are there. So we have our quick sheets. We also still have our essay book, the PT book, and then we also have a mock exam coming up where we administer it. It's 5 essays. This is for California, so not for the UBE, but for California, it's 5 essays and a PT. We also have alternate in case you've seen the PT or something before, but we do have our mock exam where we will grade it. It's 5 essays. You don't know what you're getting. You have to submit it by February 11th at 11:59 p.m. and we will grade it for you. So that's something that's a really good tool if you want to get, if you really want to be tested and get feedback. We're going to grade all of your essays, give you feedback on all of them, give you feedback on the exam as you did as a whole, etc. So these are some really good, some free, some not free study tools that you can access. So MBE, your goal Your goal by the bar exam is to get to about 2,000 questions. That's what I want everybody shooting for. So then you need to look at yourself, look at your prep so far, say, well, what do I need to do to get there? Now, for some of you, if you haven't done that much, this might not be realistic, and that's okay. You just want to make sure you want to get as close to that as possible, but I don't want everybody doing 50 or 100 questions every day. Like, that's too much. That's too much. I also, for those of you, I know a lot of you here took my MBE class, but all of our courses are recorded, and a lot of people sign up for the classes even, after the fact, and can watch the MBE workshops that I did, going over a ton of helpful tips for the MBE for every subject. It's different from what you probably have seen other people cover. But going back to your goal, so the goal is to get to around 2,000 questions. So look at what you need to do to get there. Ideally, you're doing about 33 questions a day at this point, mixed, or something like that. And identifying where your weaknesses, where are your strengths, really targeting your weaknesses. I'm going to talk about the breakdown of the MBEs in just a minute. I also want you doing at least one half mock exam. So 3 hours, 100 questions, or if you're accommodated, following your exam timing guidelines. And you should do one full mock exam. So 2 3-hour sessions back to back, take that like hour and a half lunch break and attorney exams, you don't have to worry about the MBE. I'm going to get to the other stuff in a minute. So a full mock exam, you want to make sure that you have done that and incorporate that into your 2,000 questions. If timing is an issue, you really want to make sure that you're looking at that. So regularly doing blocks of 33 or 34 in 60 minutes. And what I have a lot of people doing is maybe you're doing 17 mixed and then 17 that are targeted in your weaker areas or something like that. Or maybe you're doing 33 questions a day mixed and doing 17 questions targeted in some of your weaker areas. So a set of 50 a day. 50 MBEs a day is a good solid amount. It's kind of a lot. I don't like people doing that on a regular basis because the ideal goal is for you to really dig in and understand every MBE that you look at, understand all 4 answer options. So you want to really pace yourself, make sure that you can give the exam the attention and every single question, the level of depth of review that I want. If you have not been doing mixed so far, it's a good idea to at least start incorporating some of that into your study. So like I said, if you're doing specific subjects, maybe you do some specific subjects and some specific subtopics, but you want to start incorporating that mix where you don't know what subject it is, et cetera, so that you can really start mimicking the real exam at this point. So ideally, that's what you'd be doing. So on the MBEs, you want to make sure that you're doing some of the heavy hitters. You want to make sure that you're good in all of these. So I just did a breakdown here. Oops. So within CIF Pro, the large majority of your questions, 18 of your questions will be in jurisdiction and venue, pretrial procedures and motions. So you want to make sure you're really solid in those. And if you're not very good, you want to identify, well, what is your weakness within these topics? Pretrial procedures is a massive topic. That's probably where there's the largest diversity of questions within civil procedure. So that one can be a little harder to really hone in on your weaknesses. I tend to find that the weaknesses people have within pretrial procedures are in joinder and various joinder issues. So within contracts, you have half your questions are on performance, breach and discharge, and on formation. In con law, half your questions are on individual rights. And I say 12 questions, 6 questions, that's an approximation. It could be 5 or 6 on any of these. And individual rights, it could be 12 or 13. Then within torts, negligence, you're going to have 12 or 13 questions. Negligence, you want to identify again, if you have adaptive RU world, or whatever you're using, what is the weakness specifically within negligence? You should be doing some targeted questions within, if that's a weak subject, do a question set of this just on negligence and just go through those and say, okay, do I have questions? Am I picking, am I constantly missing landowner issues? Am I constantly missing recipsa questions? So what is the weakness? And address it, because with improving on your MBE, for so many people, you need to get 10, 12 more questions correct to pass. And that is really ratcheting up. If you can fix, 1 or 2 questions, get 1 or 2 more in every subject, that's what it takes. Evidence, the large majority, evidence is a little bit more evenly split. There's a lot of categories, but you have more in relevance, presentation of evidence, and hearsay. Within property, you have 5 questions within each topic. So there's 5 topics, you have 5 per. So property is equally split. One thing to keep in mind with property is that within ownership is probably the most difficult difficult, I find, because it has present estates and future interests, and then also special issues, including rule against perpetuities, which those questions just tend to trip people up. But I wouldn't worry about rule against perpetuities. So that's one thing. If you see it as a correct answer, if you see it as an answer option, just strike it as incorrect and pick from one of the others. The other topics that I see people missing a lot is in titles. So titles and rights and land, those two. So that often is going to be a lot of issues related to bona fide purchasers, recording acts, and equitable servitudes, real covenants, and easements. So those are really the big areas where I see people needing a lot of improvement. So hone in, look at what you're doing. Don't just do more questions. Really, you want to focus and say, what are my actual weaknesses within each topic? And you can see what is tested within each category. I'll put a link in the chat with the NCBE subject matter outline for the MBE, which if you're in any of my classes, you've definitely seen this if in any of my classes to talk about the MBE, but I'll put a link in the chat and I'll just show it to you right now really quickly as well. It's this document and it tells you what is tested within each topic. So like going back to civil procedure, pretrial procedures. So you're going to have, about 6 questions in this topic, and there's a lot going on here. And each of these are fairly different from one another. So you won't necessarily see like preliminary injunctions, TROs being tested with Rule 11. Whereas in jurisdiction and venue, there's a lot of crossover in the facts and in the answer options between SMJ, PJ, venue, for instance. So this document is really handy. When you're looking at your questions and you look at the subtopics and you do targeted questions, you want to really identify like what subtopics are you not as good in so that you can fix that and just take a very targeted approach. Even if you're using something like Adaptabar that targets your weaknesses, I like to kind of dig in and look so that I can identify my weaknesses. Or I do this for students that I'm working with one-on-one, identifying their weaknesses in particular so they understand it. So let me go back. And somebody had said, that for the MBE, it's all the general rules. So it's not state specific. All right. And then criminal law and procedure is equally split between crim and criminal procedure. So that's equally split. And if you struggle with the MBE, you should check out my MBE minutia course. That particular class it's really designed to help people that are to really just like get those few more questions correct. I go into subject specific tips. It's 8 classes, each is 2 hours, digging into each subject. You get 200 real MBEs with it as well. So you get a lot. Yeah, you get a lot with it. So let me just put a link to that. Yeah, so every class I'm going over tips, talking about like reviewing some of the more difficult areas of the law. We do some practice questions together. Yeah, so here's MBE minutia. Here's the link if you guys want to check that out. If you do have a hard time with the MBE, these are still super valuable. And somebody asked if you bought the quick sheets. If you bought the quick sheets, you'll get an email and you'll be able to print them. So you'll definitely be able to do that. And then you can view them online as well. And we do have, and I will show you the quick sheets. Yeah, I'll show you that just because I'm getting questions about that. Let me pull it up right now, actually. So here's the quick sheets that I posted a link for. Here are the quick sheets. So this is just a little intro on, using them. And I'll talk about memorization in a minute too, because I get a lot of questions on that. All right, let's see. And yes, you can print the quick sheets. So it's like this. I go through all of the subjects. I try to break it down super systematically and make it very easy to memorize. So I go through all of the subjects and it's just like bite-sized pieces of the rules. It's not written in full sentences, etc. It's just giving you all of and it doesn't have everything. It's really designed to help you see and really memorize like all of the rules that you really, really have to know. And I go a lot deeper than that. So I don't just do like the major rules. I go a lot deeper. I also do have, for those of you taking California, the California federal distinctions. I'm so glad you guys like the MBE minutia class. It makes me so happy. I've seen a lot of people's scores increase dramatically because of it. So I'm so, so happy. Their scores in practice, at least. So this is what the quick sheets look like. And then yes, you do get to print them out. Printing you have to follow the instructions to print them, but we can help you if you have any trouble with it. So just wanted to show those to you since somebody asked. And yeah, a lot of people are using them for the UBE as well. I had a lot of people use them previously for the UBE. I am working on a UBE version, but they won't be ready for the February bar. But yeah, I've had a ton of people use them for the UBE. All right, so going to essays for a minute. The MBE hard copy book, for those of you the MBE hard copy book, those are shipping. Those you can get the hard copy. If you bought the digital version, you can shoot us an email because we give you a coupon code so that you don't have to repay for the for the digital version, you just pay the cost for the printing and the shipping. So yeah, and if you did the MBE minutia class, I go way deeper into in the book. So for essays for everybody, ideally 5 essays in each subject that you've written in full, closed note time, but covering the major topics in each subject. And I do have my final forecast course. I do have a list, and I actually will upload it sooner. I'll upload it before the actual course, the one. So it's one lecture. It's called our final forecast, and I cover what are the major topics in every subject. For full essays, hopefully you're writing them now, closed note and timed. Closed note and timed. So I want to make sure that people are doing that. It's really important. Doing a closed note helps you with your memorization. That's a huge part of memorization. So if you have not been doing that, you should absolutely be doing that now. So make sure you do that. If it's a brand new subject, let's say, if you're in California and you're just starting to look at community property or wills and trusts, I get it. You might not finish it in time, and that's okay. But for all of the MBE subjects, you should be able to write essays, closed note in time. You're not going to know everything, and that's okay. That's actually the point. The whole point is to identify what you do know and what you don't know, and then fill in those gaps of what you don't know. Fill in the gaps of what you don't know how to analyze. That's the whole point. You also should be doing a lot of issue spotting. So ideally, you've written, 4 or 5, ideally 5 essays in every subject, and you're doing issue spotting as well. So issue spotting, so maybe, as many essays as you can per subject. I want issue spotting at least 10 more, just so that you can see how issues are tested. And in the last 2 weeks, if you come to my MBE, or I'm sorry, not my MBE, my final forecast course, I give you a packet of about 35 essays, 40 essays total that you should be issue spotting from the day of the class up until the bar exam. I give you a 2-week study schedule, all sorts of stuff. But this packet that you can use to do this issue spotting, and you should be doing this now too. So you start off and you take 15 to 20 minutes. You don't know what the subject or the topic is, ideally. And you go through and you follow the process. If you guys don't know the process we teach for writing an essay, if you're in my essays course, great. It's the same thing that I talk about there. If you're not in that course, it is in some of the free workshops. You can get a preview of it. So you go through and you look at the call to question. You say, okay, what subject am I in? You jot down your issue checklist for that subject. Then you go through the fact pattern and identify what issues are actually triggered by this fact pattern. You put in all of your headings and you type this in your exam answer or in a Word document. And you say, put in all of your headings, all of your subheadings, and you go through the fact pattern, place every fact from the fact pattern. So for California, you need to put every fact in there. For UBE, you put as many as you can. With UBE, you don't use every single fact in the fact pattern. You want to use as many as possible though. So put on all the facts, triage your issues, identify where the points are. So you want to do that. And Seth, I will talk about that in a minute. I'll show you guys something in a minute. Then after you do that 15 to 20 minutes, take another 10 or 15 minutes, and under each heading, type in the relevant rules. Test yourself on the memorization. I think seeing the fact pattern, triggering the issues, and then writing the rules, that's one of the most effective ways to memorize. Because you're going through seeing how that rule is triggered. You're seeing how the rules work together. You're also testing yourself on what you know and what you don't know. I think flashcards is also really good. Handwriting out for memorization. There was just a study. I mean, it's been known for years and years and years, but handwriting is incredibly, incredibly, incredibly helpful for memorization. Another article just came out 2 days ago about it. I think it was in the Wall Street Journal, or it was something an academic journal, actually, I think. So write all of the applicable rules and then engage in self-assessment after that. So you don't have to take, and this timing is for California. If you're in the UBE, you just half it. You just cut these numbers in half. So just as a heads up on that. So, maybe you spend 10 minutes doing the stuff in the first little block there, of the first block of bullet points if you're in the UBE, and then take 5 to 10 minutes to write in all of your rules. And then you might take 20 to 30 minutes to do your self-assessment. So were your rules correct? What were you missing? What took you a little bit too long to recall? What did you have to sit there and be like, oh, what is it? What is it? What is it? And then it finally comes to you, that's really good when it does finally come to you. That's actually the way memorization works. It's actually making it so it's cemented, and the next time you'll recall that rule faster. But you want to be sure. Did you use all the facts? If not, look at the answer. Where could you have used that fact? What issue does that fact trigger? And then with your issue spotting, did you hit all of the issues? Do you have headings for all of the issues? Do you have headings for all of the issues? Did you talk about stuff that you didn't need to talk about? Okay, well, why did you not need to talk about that? So all of that stuff goes into your self-assessment, and this is a much faster process. And ideally, when you're issue spotting, you're doing 3 or 4 essays a day issue spotting and switching up your subject. And I'll show you guys some stuff to help. So best source of practice essays, I actually created a website, or it's a thing that we sell. Let me show y'all. And we have a version that is for the UBE, and we also have a version that is for California. It's called SARX. And we have all of the past bar essays going back. For the UBE, it goes back really far. It's like all of the available ones. And then for California, it goes back into like the 80s. So what we've done, like for California, for the UBE, and I can show you guys what it looks like. So it has all of the subjects. They're organized by, all of the essays are organized by subject. So like civil procedure, for example, if you click here, gives you all of the questions. But what's important here is that we break it down into categories. So you can make sure that you're addressing all of the various topics. These are really all of the major categories that you will see within civil procedure. So if you want to do a question on discovery, if you click on discovery, it brings up every question that deals with discovery. And then on top of that, if you click on it, it gives you the fact pattern. We have the 2 selected answers from the bar. UBE, I'll show you what that one looks like. It's slightly different. But we also went through the 2 selected answers. My team did. And can you guys see the issue checklist? Did that just pop up for you guys? And we told you at a minimum, what did you need to address within each call? So this tells you, we don't put the rules and everything in here because people state rules slightly differently, and that's fine. But we tell you just at a minimum, what issues did you need to address? Because that's really what the selected answers are helpful for. They're helpful if you take the 2 and compare them. Then you can see, well, what issues did you need to address? Because if you look at where the overlap is, that tells you what was needed to get a passing score. So that's what these issue checklists are here for. You also can type in your answer here. So you want to sort of practice typing it, or you can do it in a Word doc, whatever works for you. But these are all in here. We also have the performance tests in here. And then let me show you all the UBE version. So for UBE, it's the same. It's the same, but for UBE, they're broken down according to the MEE subject matter outline. And then if you click on it, like criminal law and procedure here, we have the point sheet or the analysis sheet. So that are all in here. And there's a ton of them. So we have all of the subjects. We also have all of the performance tests in here broken down by what type they are, etc. So this is called SARX. It's a really great resource for this like last full month of study. And I just want to say, you guys still have a full month to go, which is a lot of time. Like you have to remember how much more you know now than you knew at the end of December. It's a lot. It's a lot. How close on the UBE point sheets? I would say in terms of on the UBE point sheets, you need to get the issues that they talk about. That's really important, is to get the correct issues. They give so many rules that go so much deeper than what is necessary. And just so anybody taking a UBE, you can look at Minnesota, I think, posts, and Georgia. Georgia's essays are different, but for the PTs, it's good. But Minnesota passed good representative sample answers. So I would check there. But yeah, you have a ton of time left. So just for anybody, like people start to panic, I know they do. And yeah, you can sign up. You can sign up for SARX on our website. I'll put the link in here. Here's for California, and then we also have UBE. Yeah, you do have a ton of time left. So there's California. Let me just put the link. And here's UBE. And there was a few other questions. The selected answers are written by bar prep applicants. Yeah, that's written by somebody that actually took the bar. And just for people that are asking, so 5 essays for each subject total. So yeah, 5 essays for each subject total, and then doing more issue spotting than that. So yeah, that I think, so Seth, answering your question about, like, I think our SARX is the best database because it's broken down by topic too. So you're not just blindly going and grabbing essays. Like you might know that it's torts, but you want to make sure that you've seen the big variety. Yeah, the big variety. Making it work. So if you work full time, yeah, I do have, you're going to be doing more issue spotting if you work full time. So you're going to be definitely doing more issue spotting. And if you're working full time, you're going to be probably doing some review. Like ideally, you're getting in about 4 hours a day of studying Monday through Thursday, and then longer days on the weekend. So like full days on the weekend, 8 hours. So that's what I would say. Definitely hitting that memorization, really making the most of your issue spotting. And if you want to write an essay in full, well, maybe you don't have time if you're working full time, which I would really urge you to write essays in full, but make sure that anything that you feel uncomfortable writing, you practice writing that. Because the worst thing is you get to the exam and you haven't practiced that. That's why the practice is so important. Memorization, work on it every day. Focus for essays. You want to focus on the essay organization and structure, knowing how things work, knowing what you need. I do have an essay book for California. A lot of people use it for the UBE too. The UBE one is coming out, but it won't be ready for February. But it's templates on how to write any issue, what kind of rules you can cut, how things get tested, etc. Tons and tons of tips. You can download a free sample of it on my free study resources. I think I give you a full chapter, and I will a link so you can get that free sample. I'll post this in the chat of the essay book. I just posted that if you guys want to check that out. So memorization. So my essay book is really helpful because I show you how do you structure this, how do you answer this, any type of essay basically, and how do you write the analysis. So I wrote it in the way that I did, and let me just show you guys. I might as well since I have it here. And you get access to any of like the digital versions, you get access until I think February 29th or like March 2nd or something. You get access until the bar is over. So this is what the essay book looks like. So like this, I just went into a civil procedure section. So here's personal jurisdiction. So I'll give you, and a lot of these, I give you little tips at the top of how this gets tested, what to look for. And then there's tons of footnotes telling you how to save time. A lot of people run out of time or have difficulty managing their time. So I talk a lot about that. I also gray out rules that you won't necessarily include. So this is what it looks like, templates on literally how to write anything. I show you like if you're running out of time, how to do that. I also talk about writing formulas, a whole bunch in the introduction. So that's what this book is. And you can download an entire chapter of it too. So I think it's the criminal law and procedure chapter that I posted. What's one of them? So when you write an essay and miss a rule, it doesn't come to you quickly. Those are the things that you need to memorize. So when you miss an MBE, make a flashcard or do something with it to memorize. So really focus on dedicating, at least if you're working, I would say at least 30 minutes to an hour a day on memorization, taking a cue from what you struggled with in your actual practice of your MBEs and your essays. But it's definitely, a lot of people say, oh, don't worry about it. It comes in the last 2 weeks. I do not believe that because I've just had too many experiences with too many people where that was not the case. So just some memorization tips there. And then PTs, last of all of California PTs are really good from July 2017 to July 2023. Those are all great. Those are all really good that you can practice from. MPTs, you can get these for free on the NCBE website. And these are ones that I like in particular. So Peak et al., which is July 2017, In Ray Worley, In Ray Brian Carr. I also, if you guys aren't in my PT class, I have a free video in the PT workshop for the MPTs going over In Ray Brian Carr. Also, In Ray K. Struckman and In Ray Linda Durham, both are from July 2014. And you can get these on the NCBE website. So those are all really great PTs to check out to practice. Ideally, you will do a minimum of 8 PTs before the bar total. So, doing them timed, don't give yourself extra time. It's not great to do that because you want to really put yourself in that exam scenario. And that's it. I just wanted to give you guys some tips, benchmarks of where you should be, where you're going, etc. Some stuff that you should be doing. And any questions or any more questions? How many MPTs? I recommend doing a minimum of 8. That's okay. So, and if you're not finishing stuff, that's really time to examine. Like, did you spend too much time in the beginning? Could you have moved on faster? Did you really need all of those rules? So you have to really engage in that assessment. Like, where did you spend too much time? We also, like my MPT course, we have recorded versions of the essays course and the PT course for UBE and for California. I definitely recommend those for anybody that's struggling on any particular part of the exam. Watching them now is still really helpful. Donald, what are you referring to specifically? Practice MBE questions in practice mode or exam mode? It really depends. I like to, if you're doing that specific to adaptive R, I think it's good to do a mix. So I think in exam mode, it's good because that you can do some more targeted questions. So in exam mode, you can do some more targeted questions in an area where you are weak, but practice mode is nice because it's just targeting your weaknesses and you don't know what you're getting exactly. So that's good. So this is a really good question. How do you deal with overwhelming panicky feeling now that you're getting close? You just really that's why I wanted to give you guys benchmarks. What do you need to be doing each day to get to where you need to be, right? So if you need to do 8 PTs before the exam, how do you do that, right? How do you do that? What do you need to do? How many a week do you need to do? If you need, if you need to get to if you're trying to get to 2000, if you're close, and if you're at around 1000 or so right now, that's great. Like you're on target, then that's good. What do you need to do? Do you need to do about 33 a day? Do you need to do 50 a day? What is it that you need to do? What's realistic too? If you're working, you're not going to be able to do that many. You're not going to be able to do that many. So doing 2000 questions, there are not 2000 real questions that exist. It's okay. It is okay for you to be doing some questions that you've seen before. That's okay. We usually don't remember them unless we've done them numerous times. And, you know, unless you've done it the same question, you know, 4, 5, 6 times. And even then, sometimes people don't remember, but it's okay if you're doing some repeated questions. So any MBE program should have all of the questions. So if you're an Adaptive-R, UWorld, if you have mine, we have all of the questions and more. Also, a really great resource for civil procedure MBE is there's a book called Mastering Federal Civil Procedure, or yeah, it's like multiple choice for the federal civil procedure, something like that. You can get it on Amazon. I'll grab the link. I'll look it up right now and put the link in the chat for everybody. But it really, like, I just find it's like making goals that are attainable every day. Making goals that are attainable every day is really what's helpful. So just, yeah, small goals every day. Just map out your plan to get there and stick to it. Make sure it's realistic though. Make sure it's realistic. If you're a first time taker, you're currently around 600, that's okay. But try to identify, like, what do you need to do to get to where you need to be? You know, if you can get to more than that, and keep in mind, like, you're going to do a mock exam coming up. That's 200 questions. You can do, you know, a couple of half mocks. Like a lot of the students that I'm working with one-on-one, I'm doing, you know, I had them do, you know, I have 2 half mock exams plus a full. That's 400 questions right there. So it's easy to get caught up. And then 33 questions a day, approximately. There's a ton of different, like, varied questions. I'm going to also put our email in the chat so you can send these over, and we'll try to get to as many of them as possible. But Marina, just send us an email about that. On Adaptive-R, where should you be? You want to be around 65% total on Adaptive-R by the time you get to the exam. So overall. Exam mode does not target weaknesses in Adaptive-R, Brandon, but we are doing that one-on-one, so don't worry about that. So somebody said their goal was originally to get to 1,000, 1,500 questions. 1,500, yes, you're getting there. Like, that's okay. There's around 1,600 real questions, 1,500 real questions, but that's really, then you're seeing everything once. So you want to make sure that you understand all of those questions. I don't think 1,000 is enough. The commonly tested areas. So in my final forecast workshop, we'll send a link out to it, but our final forecast workshop is the one that a lot of people really like. It's our most popular class by far. And that's where we go through all of the subjects. We talk about what you absolutely need to know in every subject. I also put together a last 2-week study schedule. You also get, I talk about the heavy hitters for every subject. And then, the packet of what you need to really look at. So I go through every single subject, look at what has and has not been tested recently, and put together a packet of essays based on that. There's not a coupon code for the quick sheets, no. And the mock exam is not for the UBE. No, sorry, it's just California. We will at some point do a UBE one. We just I don't have enough people to help grade for that yet. So here's the links to the final forecast session. Lawrence, Franklin v. Soper is one of the most difficult timing wise. So you're probably just not there fast enough yet. And that's okay. All right, I think I've gotten most of the questions. Phyllis, we'll talk about that before you take it. I'm going to email it to you. How many PTs should you do? You should do a total of about 8 before the exam, a minimum, total minimum of about 8, ideally more. And some people have, like, very specific questions just to them. If you want to send an email, and I'll try to get to as many of them as possible. And there's a final forecast. There's a version for California and a version for the UBE. So as long as you sign up for that, if you're in my essays course, you already will get it. So you don't need to rebuy it. Phyllis, I don't know where. All right, I think I've gotten all of, like, the big broad questions. So if you guys have anything else, please feel free to shoot us an email. It's hello@bar-md.com. And really wishing you all the very best of luck studying. I hope to see you soon, and I hope you all pass. And if you guys need anything, just reach out. Thanks so much. Thank you. Bye, everybody. Have a good rest of your day. Happy studying. Thanks, blessing.